Hey, welcome to Woman Warrior Wednesday. Good afternoon to all of you out there. My name is Ruby Garcia. I am the life coach and founder of Ruby Garcia Coaching and Woman Warrior. And I am the host of this weekly segment. And today I'm also kind of acting as the guest. We had a guest that needed to reschedule, and I decided, you know what, let me get on anyways and just have a quick conversation. So I put it out on Facebook that I was going to be showing up and just answering questions. So feel free to, if you have anything, related to coaching or leadership or anything on your mind that you want to ask, feel free to drop that in the chat and I can answer those questions. I also just thought it would kind of be like Ruby's Riff today. So I am just going to be kind of sharing a couple things that I've thought about. Some of you may know that I just celebrated my 44th birthday on Monday. And so 44, it made me start reflecting on a lot of things about where I am and, where I want to be. So I came up with 5 things I learned this year that I would love to share with you. And maybe in it, there's something that you can learn for yourself or something that you can glean from it and consider in your own life. I did get a couple questions, and so I thought I would answer those for anyone that might be interested. Again, today is pretty much a live Q&A, so if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and I will answer them. One of the questions was, how did I end up getting into coaching? And I got interested in coaching probably about 10 years ago. I was working for Granger at the time. I had a lot of people, usually younger, a little bit younger corporate professionals who were asking me to mentor them. And I thought, maybe this is something that I could do more of and learn how to really coach people and become a professional at and maybe make this a little side gig. And so I was introduced to coaching from a referral. Someone referred me to their friend who then referred me to a workshop in Chicago. And that's how I ended up learning more about coaching. I went to this observation where I could see coaches being trained. I was really, really intrigued about the conversations that were going on. It was really deep and really authentic, and people were being raw and vulnerable. And if you know anything about me, I love deep conversations. And so that really intrigued me. And then I went to a workshop and basically had 4 hours of one-on-one coaching with Rodney, who some of you might know. And that was pretty life-changing because in that experience, I really had this big aha moment. And the aha moment was that I get to create the life that I want. It didn't have to be the life that others expected of me or the life I should have according to other people. And I was hooked. And so I didn't sign up right away to be a coach because of the investment of, time and energy and resources. I was actually pregnant at the time. I was going through a divorce, a little sticky there. And so I didn't invest right away into the program, but I did end up signing up, and I eventually went through a 1-year coaching program, and it was life-changing. It kind of blew up my life in both good and bad ways, but I wouldn't change it and I wouldn't regret it. I really learned a lot from it. And, over the last, I think it's been 7 years, 8 years or something like that since I've gone through that program, that I have continued to invest myself through, different programs, through coaches, just being in community. So that's a little bit about how I got into coaching. Now, someone asked me, Antonio sent in a message and he asked me, how do you go about choosing a coach? And I guess I would say there's a couple ways that you could choose a coach. I would actually have a session with them. I would have a session with them and see what that experience is like. And then I would look for things like, do you feel rapport? Do you feel like you can trust them? Are you wanting a coach that's, solely going to be coaching you? Or a lot of coaches are also coaches / consultants. Are they going to be mentoring you? Do they have a business that you want to model. So there's a lot of different things. I would just ask a lot of questions. I would have a conversation with them. If you can have a conversation with other people or read testimonials, that's another great way. If they offer master classes, attend those. And those are some of the ways that you can really decide whether a coach is a right fit for you. So those are some of the questions. And then the other question is that I get is like, do coaches have their shit together? The answer is no. Probably not the answer you expected. But the one thing that coaches do have is they know how to get responsible for their lives. And usually they are, if they're a good coach, they have a lot of support. They actually work with coaches or have peer coaches or in communities where they're also getting supported. And, that is the big difference is coaches get responsible for the areas of their life. So they usually will know where there are opportunities to grow. And, as we evolve, we always have new edges, right? And so we get comfortable and then we evolve some more and we need to expand. And so that process is messy, and that is no different for a coach than it is a client that is going through. I've had plenty of phone calls where I have been, called a coach in a meltdown or breakdown. And just as my clients have also called me. So that's completely normal. So those are some of the questions that I got around coaching. And if, feel free to drop messages. If you have more coaching questions, I'm happy to answer it. Like I said, this is just a kind of an open conversation today with my guests that rescheduled. And then I thought I would share, I thought I would just riff today. I guess that's the new word the millennials are using. So I think, today's Ruby's Riffs. And I thought I would share 5 things that I've learned this year. As I said, my birthday was this week, and I've been doing a lot of reflection about, where I am, what I've learned in this last year. And so the first one is the first thing that I really learned this year, and I think I've known this for sure, but I think I took it to a new level this year, and it is don't let fear get in the way. A couple of years ago, I hosted a couple coaching groups. So we had cohorts, and it was for a program that I was offering called Courageous Living. And the big question of the group was, how would you show up if you were your most powerful and bravest version of yourself? And then each week we kind of unpacked what that meant. And, that is a question that I would pose to you is like, how would you show up if you were showing up as your most powerful and bravest version of yourself? What are the things that you would be saying? What are the things you would be doing? How would you be acting? What would your life be like? How would you be living it out every day? And fear is the number one thing that kills dreams. It puts a lot of us in paralysis. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of what other people are going to think. We're afraid that, we're not going to be good enough. We have all these fears, and we let them get in the way of us just showing up and being who we're meant to be in this world. And so my number one thing that I've learned is don't let fear get in the way. And I started really putting myself out there a little more this year, and I can really see the difference. And this isn't like a bragging session or anything, but just, this year I signed up for a speaking engagement, something that I would not have done in the past because I would have been afraid. I would have thought I wasn't ready enough. And I decided this year, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to put it, submit this proposal to this national conference, and I'm just going to see what happens. And you know what, guess what? I got selected. And so I'm going to be speaking for anyone in Pro-Spanica. I'm going to be speaking at the National Pro-Spanica Conference that's coming up this fall. I think my workshop date for those that are a part of Pro-Spanica is September 30th. And I'm going to be talking about Latinas and power, and how do we use our collective power, and then how do we use our personal power? How do we harness that? And then I'll be actually, if you can see here, I have this book. which I highly recommend, Break the Good Girl Myth. And this is going to be kind of referencing a little bit of that too, and talking about, how the good girl gets in the way of us women leading powerful lives, and some of the myths there. So, that's one of the things that I did to step out of fear, was like, I submitted that proposal, I got accepted, now I'm getting other opportunities. Quite honestly, being on video freaked me out. That's why you'll notice I rarely ever did video. And this year, again, I decided, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there. And it started with interviewing other people. And because I love being in conversation, and I love collaborating, and I love lifting other people up and inspiring. And so that's what actually inspired me to do Women Warrior Wednesday. So my advice to you is, don't let fear get in the way of you doing the things that you're meant to do. And I know it can be scary, and that's okay. You can acknowledge the fear and not let it run the show. I posted something actually on Instagram today, and it was a quote, and the quote was, "Fear is a reaction, courage is a decision." So the number two thing that I've learned this year is, and I wish this one is really important, because I really wish that I would have learned this earlier in my life. And this is protecting your energy. I don't know how many of you are empaths out there, but I am a big time empath. Like, I can walk into a room, I can feel people's energy. I'm the type of person that if I see someone else crying, like, I'm right there crying with you. I really take that in, and I realize that sometimes I really let other people's energy affect me. And so this year in particular, I've been really protective about my space and my energy. And that sometimes means putting boundaries in place. And I know this can be really tough for women. And I will even say, especially Latina women, because of our culture. And, a lot of it is based on being a martyr, really, right? And putting everybody else first and catering to everyone else. But one of the most loving things that you can do is put boundaries in place and take care of yourself and protect your own energy and space. And so that means, maybe not taking phone calls at certain times, or, having difficult conversations with people, and letting them know, this is not okay. If you're not going to support me in this area, like, we're not going to be able to have, authentic conversations. So protecting your energy is something that is really, is really important. And I really, I think it's different for everyone because of, how you carry your energy. And, some people are more introverted and extroverts, and personality comes into it. But that is something that it's taken me, 43 years to really realize, is what do I need to do to protect my energy so that I can show up and be the best version of myself for my family, for my friends, for my loved ones, for my clients. And so that's something to consider. So number 3, and hey, Jennifer, hey, Sunshine, glad to have you here with us. So the third thing that I've learned this year is to be intentional. And I'm going to actually get a little more specific but be intentional about trying new things, meeting new people, and putting yourself out there. This is all about showing up. And I have really this year, hey, Sister Yaya, I see that you're on here. It's good to see you. This year, I have really, I think, gone out of my comfort zone in more ways than one. And this is something that I think is great for anyone that really wants to grow and expand as a person, is just to put yourself in new situations. Sometimes that could be moving. I know when I moved from, Chicago suburbs to DC, and then DC to North Carolina, where I knew no one, it forces you to get out of your bubble, right? And even though not everyone's going to have the luxury of moving or want to maybe move, maybe you take a new route to work. Maybe you visit somewhere that you haven't visited before. Maybe you engage in a community that you have not engaged before. But there's something that we really learn about, both about ourselves and about others when we put ourselves in new situations. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I have Reverend Yaya on here. And earlier this year, I participated in a course called Jesus and Justice. And it was a small group program where we talked about racial justice. We talked about it in terms of a biblical framework. And we had really difficult conversations. We talked about racial trauma and how that shows up. And we dug into our own family histories. And, those conversations can be heated and hard and difficult. And yet it was so beautiful because one is like the community was amazing. Two was that there was so much growth that occurred, but that growth occurred in discomfort. And, a lot of people want to run from discomfort or want to run from, pain, or want to run if it's going to get too vulnerable. But it's really in those positions that we grow and that we heal too. Like for me, that experience was so healing to me to be part of that community. And there were things in my family lineage that I explored and traumas that had been haunting me for years that I was able to free up. And I kid you not, some of that healing is why I'm even on video today, because as I mentioned before, I used to hate video. I did not like really to be seen. And because of that transformation, because of the internal work, because of God's grace, I am able to show up and not feel, not feel judged or not worried about being seen. And so that is one example. Another example is my kids and I just started Krav Maga. And it is, for those that might not know what Krav Maga is, it is an Israeli fighting system. It's basically self-defense. In Israel, civilians know it. Everybody knows it. It's a mix of different martial arts, but it's different than martial arts because martial arts is actually more of an art form and there are sequences. And Krav Maga is really based on instinct and self-defense. And so the boys and I started taking Krav Maga classes about a month ago, and we are just hooked. We love it. We go 3 to 4 times a week. It has quickly become an extension of our family. And, I'm through that experience of, being intentional about doing new things and showing up. It's like I'm meeting new people. I'm getting healthier. I'm getting stronger. My kids and I are bonding in a new way. And I'm learning. Here's the other thing. There's so much mental mindset stuff that goes into Krav Maga that there are so many things that I'm learning through the physical that really have to do about like mental fortitude and strength. And so those are things that I wouldn't learn, if I stayed in my little bubble. So putting yourself out there. And for some of you, it could look different, right? So it could, I've had a couple people talk to me about like wanting to do more personal branding and being on LinkedIn more, but they are scared about what people will think, or they don't know what to write and things like that. And, that's one example. It's like, you can show up there, you can show up in different communities, it's just really being intentional about how you want to show up. And, sorry, my phone keeps going off. It's really just about being intentional about how we want to show up. There's so much that you can gain from those experiences. So, I challenge you, is there something that you've been wanting to try? Is there something that you wanted to do and you haven't? Maybe it's an art class, maybe it's a writing class, maybe it's a sport, maybe it's a Krav Maga class. You can join me. I've got an opportunity for that. So hang in there if you want to hear about that. So that's number 3. So number 1 was don't let fear get in the way. Number 2 is learn how to protect your energy. 3 is be intentional about trying new things, meeting new people, putting yourself in new spaces, and just showing up. And number 4 is our lives are a direct reflection of our beliefs and choices. And that's good or bad. We write the story. And that sometimes is a hard pill to swallow if we are in a place of victimhood, or we're not happy about where we are at in our life. But the fact of the matter is that we are the creators of our lives, right? And if my life is shitty, then I've got to do something about it, you know? And when I wrote a piece for Today's Inspired Latina, the book, it's an anthology, and the quote that I shared for that book was, you know, we can let someone else be the author of our stories, or we can choose to be the author and write our own story. And that's really true about our lives too. Like, really, we get to be the author. We get to decide how it goes. If I have a crappy narrative about my life, that's how it's going to show up, right? But if I'm open to possibilities, if I'm open to even if I'm open to rewriting the story. So if I've had a disempowering story, and, you know, if I'm open to rewriting it, I can look for the gift in it, and I can say there's something really beautiful, and there's something that I've learned from this experience, right? And so it's all about perspective. You know, our perspective will dictate our experience of things. And so, and I've even using the Krav Maga as an example, for a long time, I have had a narrative that I'm not strong, I'm not physical, I'm not athletic, like I'm not coordinated, all these, stories about why I couldn't be active, right? I've got scoliosis, I've got a rat in my back, I have my birth defect, and all these things. And the fact is they were all excuses, because there are plenty of things that I could do. And the other part was that I just had to find something that I really enjoyed, right? Like Krav Maga is really empowering. It's really fun. And so that was part of it too. But I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna, I've been telling myself for years that I'm not athletic and I'm not strong. So of course, if I tell myself that, then I'm not going to be. And so I really made a conscious decision about rewriting my narrative. You know what, I am strong, and I am going to build muscle, and I am learning how to do these moves, and I'm training, and I'm mastering, and I'm practicing, and I'm having fun, and I'm playing, right? And so that is a great example about, of me rewriting my narrative in regards to, my wellness and fitness and overall health and strength. And I've had so much fun doing that too. And then number 5, and so actually, let me step back. So the thing I would say is, to you to think about is, maybe what is the narrative in your life that you might need to rewrite? Is there a disempowering story that is holding you back? You might consider identifying what is that story, and just write it down. What's the story that you're telling yourself? And then what meaning are you making of that story? What are you making that story mean? In Landmark, there's a saying that says, like, oh man, it's just dropped out of my head, but it's something along the lines of like, oh man, it's something along the lines of like, everything has meaning or nothing has meaning. But basically, the idea is that we give things meaning. So, if you have a narrative, consider what that narrative is and what's the meaning that you're giving it, right? And consider, is there an opportunity to rewrite this narrative? And we have the power to do that. We will train our minds to believe whatever we want. So that's something to consider. And then number 5. So for those that might be jumping in, I've just been talking about 5 things I've learned in particular over this last year. as I celebrate my birthday earlier this week, and I've just been reflecting. And number 5 is love hard. And some of you might follow me on social media, or even, know me a little more in depth. And you probably know that I was in a relationship for 1.5 years. And it was the first relationship I'd been in since my divorce, which I was divorced for 5 years. So for 5 years, I didn't want anything to do with relationships or anything to do with love. It was not happening. Forget it. Been there, done that. Didn't work out. Never going back. And you know what? I opened my heart to that possibility, and I had an amazing relationship, and it was beautiful. And I love this person so much. And it ended. And quite honestly, my heart was broken wide open. And I'm still even recovering a little bit from it. But I will say that my heart being broken has only given me more capacity to love. And I am so, so grateful for that. And, if there's anything that we've seen over this last year, or 18 months with the pandemic, is that we are not promised tomorrow. We are not promised tomorrow. So love the people around you hard. I tell my children probably 10 to 20 times a day, and I'm not even exaggerating. I tell them 10 to 20 times a day how much I love them. I'm constantly hugging them and, trying to encourage them and just, make them feel not only loved, but also just seen. Because that has been very difficult for me in terms of my own experiences and not feeling seen. And I've always wanted my kids not only to know that I love them, but that I see them and I appreciate them for who they are. So love hard is the 5th thing that I have really learned. And, some of you may or may not know that I had a brother, and he passed away 16 years ago. And it was right before, my birthday. In fact, when I got the phone call that he had passed away, I was out shopping for a party that I was going to have the next day. And, I'm so thankful in this way, was that the last words that I said to my brother, not knowing that it was going to be the last conversation, was, "I love you." I always tell the people I love you, even friends. I have a friend that I talk to every single week. It's almost like a catch up / therapy session. It's the kind of the conversation I'll tell her, I love you. I tell my family I love you at the end of every phone call, because we really don't know when our last day is. And so just really encourage you to tell the people that you love. If you haven't told them lately, tell them that you love them and that you appreciate them. So those are the 5 things I have learned this year. Don't let fear get in the way. Protect your energy. Be intentional about trying new things, meeting new people, showing up, and just putting yourself out there. Your life is a reflection of your beliefs and choices. So consider what you're choosing. And then the 5th one is love hard. So those are what I have learned. That's Ruby's Riffs today. And I have an invitation for you. I'm going to wrap it up if there's not questions. If there's questions, you can post the comments into the comments, and I will take questions or comments. But I do have an invitation. So I did celebrate my 44th birthday, and I decided, you know what, I honestly, I rarely ever celebrate my birthday. In fact, as I mentioned, because of my brother, it's a bittersweet day for me, because his death anniversary is so close to my birthday that it almost feels a little bit tainted. But this year I decided that I really want to celebrate my birthday. And so I am, and I'm going to invite all of you, and you can join virtually from wherever you are. So on my birthday party, or actually I'm going to call it a birthday fundraiser, because really that's what it is, and I'll tell you a little more right now, is on Friday night, September 10th. I am hosting, along with my coach and my trainer and instructor, Jamie Lee from the Coalition in here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We're going to be doing a virtual Krav Maga class. So if anyone has ever wanted to try Krav Maga, if you're interested and want to experience it, if you want to see, what I'm talking about and why I'm posting all the time about Krav Maga, or, sharing these life lessons that I'm learning from Krav Maga, now's the opportunity. So we're going to be hosting a virtual Krav Maga class, so you can join from wherever you are. And what I'm asking is that you make a donation, and it doesn't matter the amount. It could be $5, it could be $10, it could be $25, $100. It does not matter. And those donations will go to Afghan women and children. One of the big things about Woman Warrior is really just about empowering women. And I hate to say empower, because I believe that power is an inside job. Like I can't give someone power, they have it. It exists within them. But for lack of a better word, I love supporting women in reclaiming their power. And that's what the Woman Warrior community and, coaching programs are all about. It's about women tapping into their power, living courageously, living authentically, doing big things and showing up in the world. And I really believe that, when I really believe it when, I think of the verse where it said the least of these, and I think about the least of these and those that are most affected in this situation. And I think about the women and children, and it just makes me want to give back. I have been so thankful and so blessed in my life. And honestly, my life has not always been easy. We all have our own stories. We've all gone through our own hardships, and I've had some rough patches and some real dark nights of the soul. Things I didn't think that I would come out of, to be quite honest with you. But I have, and it's, always been, stronger. Excuse me. Give me 1 second here. Hey, Angela, I see you're on here and you say, you're rewriting your story. What a journey. Awesome. I love that. Congratulations. I know you've been doing a lot. And I see Antonio is on here. I don't know if you're still on here, but it's nice to see you, Antonio. Antonio is, he is pretty freaking awesome. He's doing all this awesome art here in North Carolina, and he got a nice fellowship. Why on earth? I cannot think of the name of the fellowship, but it's a very prestigious fellowship. And I think it's really exciting because he's repping Latinos. Hey, An is on here. Antonio, you're on here. Tell me what your fellowship is. I can't remember the name of it. But it makes me so proud of you because, I think there's so few of us that either go for or get those opportunities. And I think it's amazing that you, are really pursuing your dreams, and also opportunities are opening up for you because of it. Let me hide that comment there. So anyways, as I was saying, this Krav Maga Fulbright. Yes, Antonio got the Fulbright scholarship. If you guys haven't looked him up, he's an amazing artist here in the Durham, North Carolina area. His name is Antonio Alanis, and you can look for him on social media and see all of his amazing artwork that he's doing. So anyways, birthday party, September 10th, virtual Krav Maga class. You can come by yourself. You can have your whole family do it. Any donations will go to help Afghan women and children. I believe that we in the Durham, North Carolina area will be getting some refugees coming in. So I'm looking into, a partnership so those fundraisers can go locally. If not, it will go to another organization. But that's, again, I'm so thankful for everything that I've been given. And I just want to be able to recognize that, I do recognize that not everybody is given those opportunities, and there are other things going on in the world. And And it's my very small way of being able to give back. And so I hope that you'll join me for my birthday party. Krav Maga is super fun and it's super empowering, and you'll get a good workout. And I would love for you to join me. So I will be posting details on my Facebook later on about that. And I just want to thank everyone for coming on. If you and joining today, if you know someone, I've got a couple guests coming up. I've got a senator, I've got an artist, I've got a mental health advocate. So we've got some amazing guests coming on for the next, a branding expert. So we've got some amazing guests coming on in the next couple weeks. And I'm always, looking for new guests too. So if you know someone that you think would be great for the Women Warrior segment, I'm just really looking for women that are making impact, that are following their purpose, that are inspiring others, that want to give back and contribute and can add value and just really share. We have a pretty casual conversation. I'd say it's a pretty fun conversation here. And, it's really just meant to really inspire and encourage other women. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I will share details about the party on Facebook and LinkedIn soon. So you can check that out if you're interested. And thank you so much. And we're going to wrap it up for today if there's no questions. So I love you all, and I hope that you have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye now.